Dear students, welcome back to Biology Forum classes once again. This is the only platform where you can get information-rich, conceptualized and concise videos on life science. We cater students of class 11-12, medical aspirants, as well as we cover syllabus of various competitive examinations as well. In the previous class, we have studied about transporting plants, the ascent of sap mechanism. Today, this class will focus on the next procedure, which is going to be transpiration in case of plants. So, without any further delay, let's begin today's class. So, let's start studying about the transpiration. Okay, what do you mean by transpiration, students? I think you are aware of the terminology transpiration. Transpiration means the amount of water lost from the plant body in the form of water vapor, and as well as loss, or you can say exchange of gas, that is carbon dioxide and oxygen, from the plant body is together termed as transpiration. So, first, the main thing you need to focus on about is that transpiration not only deals with or not only concerned with the amount of water loss during the process from the plant body, as well as an ample amount of gaseous exchange also happen along with the water loss phenomenon. Okay, so in a very concise way, I have let you know about the definition of transpiration in case of plants. Okay, so just recall from our previous class that the mechanism is written over here: cohesion, tension, transpiration, pull theory. The theory is given by Dickson and Joly. Okay, you need to remember it very precisely because questions you have to face from this part, okay, in your upcoming NEET examinations. So, what is cohesion, tension, transpiration, pull theory? This is a theory. Here, cohesion is a mechanism of attraction between two molecules. It may be two water molecules or other molecules can be. And tension, transpiration, pull theory. This theory is mainly the major theory on which the total transpiration process relies on. Okay, this theory explains mainly the transport of water and minerals in case of plants. So, not only water, but along with water, ample amount of necessary minerals also get transported by the mechanism. We will study about the mineral transport in our next class. Today, just focus on the transpiration procedure. Okay. So, for the transpiration procedure to happen in a particular manner, two main things we need to focus on. What are they? The first one is strong transpiration pull must be there. What is strong transpiration pull? Strong transpiration pull must be there along with the water column. In the previous class, just try to recall from, I have already mentioned it, how the water column is formed or have formed. Okay. So, to make the transpiration process more efficient, these two characteristics must be there. What are they? The first one is strong transpiration pull must be there, and the water column which has formed must be very tight and very rigid in manner. Okay, so let's just roll up with the transpiration pull generation. How the transpiration pull is generated. Okay, so let's start with the transpiration pull generation procedure. How will the pull generate? Okay, so just imagine this is the image of a leaf, and this gate is the stomatal opening. Stomata. Okay. And the blue portion is here. Suppose it is the water column. The water molecules will form a column-like structure. And just focus that here in that portion, the formation of water column will happen here, and water is dispersed in that portion of the leaf, and these portions, this green part is filled up water. From here, water will form vapor like H2O gaseous form. The liquid water will convert into water vapor here. Here H2O, in the form of H2O, water will be present, and in the outside of the leaf, outside the stomatal opening, here again water vapor is already there in the atmosphere. That is why we feel humid in the monsoon season, right? Because there is too much of water vapor present in our environment. So as air passes in the environment, in that portion outside the leaf, here the water vapor proceeds towards various directions, and as the water vapor in that particular area removed from this portion by air, the internal water vapor inside the leaf will come through the stomatal opening and goes outside the leaf and emit into the environment. That is why, this is how actually the transpiration procedure goes on. When there is less humidity in the atmosphere, the rate of transpiration in plants will increase. How will it function? It will function in such a way that when there is less amount of water vapor present outside the plant in the environment, water will get transpired from the stomatal opening in the form of water vapor from the plant body to the outside, and upon releasing on outside, the water vapor become in the place of the vacant area in the environment. Okay, through stomata the total process will go, and this is how the transpiration process will function. Water in the gaseous form present in the substomatal cavity or substomatal space here. This space is called substomatal space. Okay, and whenever there is less amount of water vapor present just outside the environment, water will transpire from the plant internal leaf structure through the stomata to the outside of the environment. Okay, I think up to this point you have well understood the total procedure, and this is a continuous process. The vacancy in the environment, the transpiration pool will generate, and from inside the plant body, plant leaf, water will face transpiration through the stomata. So this continuous or cyclical process generates a strong transpiration pool, just I have mentioned, strong transpiration pool, and this strong transpiration pool will eventually make the transpiration process more efficient. Okay, now let's come to the next point, which is the strong water column formation. You can see over here that the water column has already been formed. So to make the water column more strong, three forces must be there. The first one is cohesion. Cohesion, I have just mentioned that the attraction between two water molecules, the attraction between two water molecules is termed as cohesion. Okay, the more the strong cohesion power between the two water molecules, it will make the water column more sustainable, and it will help the transpiration process as well. Okay, the next force is adhesion. Adhesion is the interaction between the water molecule in the water column and the outer wall. The attraction between the water column with the wall. More it is strong, it will help to maintain the water column more sustainably. Okay. And the third one is surface tension. These are main three forces to maintain strong water column during the process of transpiration. Okay, let's continue with the transpiration mechanism. So let's begin with the transpiration procedure in detail. Already I have mentioned what the definition of transpiration is. It is the evaporative loss of water in the form of water vapor from the surface of plant body, mainly the leaf. Various other plant body parts also participate in the transpiration mechanism. We will discuss it in sometime later. And not only with the water loss, but also a gaseous exchange will happen during this time as well. What is this? The gaseous exchange means the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Carbon dioxide will go inside the leaf through the stomata, and oxygen will leave from inside of the plant, inside of the leaf, to the atmosphere during this process. Okay. So, along with water loss, a gaseous exchange also there. The next important part is the transpiration ratio. What is transpiration ratio? The ratio between water molecule losing and entry of carbon dioxide. Upon giving one molecule of water, how many molecules of carbon dioxide will get entry inside the leaf is mentioned as the transpiration ratio. Transpiration ratio. Okay. In case of C3 plant, the example is such a manner that when 200 to 400 molecule of water will lose by transpiration, one molecule of carbon dioxide will get entry. In case of C4 plants, 100 to 200 molecule of water will lose and one molecule of carbon dioxide get entry. So, from these two examples, we can say C4 plants are twice more efficient than C3 plants because they lose half the molecule like C3 plants to get entry of one molecule of carbon dioxide. Okay. In case of CAM, crassulacean acid metabolism plants, they are more efficient. 50 to 100 molecule of water they lose. In case of CAM, 50 to 100 molecules of water they lose to get one molecules of carbon dioxide inside the leaf. Why? Because we all know that CAM cycle mainly happen in the xerophytic plants. Xerophytic plants means the plants which reside in the desert, most extreme dry and waterless condition. In that particular condition, they have a thick layer of cuticle, which is a layer of wax upon over the surface of the leaf. Okay, and this is a protective measure for those plants like aloe vera, that or succulent plants or cactus plants, we can say. They preserve water because in the environment of that very dry condition, water is not so available. That is why they conserve water. How? By lowering the rate of transpiration. That is why their leaves of those plants are heavy cutinized. Okay, and due to that particular phenomena, water loss is very much less than the C3 or C4 plants, and that is why in case of CAM plants, only 50 to 100 molecules of water will lost to get entry of one molecule of carbon dioxide. So these are the transpiration ratio I have mentioned in case of various plants. Okay, so let's begin with the next portion of today's class, which is various types of transpiration. Okay. Okay, so let's begin with the various types of transpiration in today's class. The major 4 types of transpiration is written over here. The first one is foliar, that is the transpiration from the surface of the leaf. The second one is cuticular, transpiration through the cuticle. Cuticle is a layer of wax which is present over the plant leaf. mechanism of transpiration and how much water will eventually lost from the surface of the leaf. The third one is lenticel. Lenticel is sparsely arranged small cells present in the bark region or all over the body of the plant, but from lenticel or cuticle very less amount of water will eventually lost by the process of transpiration. Let's now come to the last and the very important part, which is stomatal transpiration. About 95% of transpiration will happen through the stomata. We already have mentioned. Okay, so very important and very popular process of transpiration will happen through the stomatal pore. Okay, let's come to the stomata, how it is formed and what are the main types of it and how it is present in the plant, and let's discuss details about it. Okay, so stomata is slit or pore present mainly in the lower surface of the leaf. It can also be present in the upper and the lower surface both as well. We will study about various types depending upon the distribution of stomata over the plant leaf. Okay, so this is the concise structure of stomata. I will attach a minute picture of stomata over here. Okay, so just focus. This kidney shaped or bean shaped structure is regarded as guard cell. This is the structure of the stomata. This middle or internal kidney shaped or dumbbell shaped or bean shaped structure we can consider as guard cell, and both the guard cells will form this structure, and the internal pore is the stomatal opening from which the water will eventually get transpirated. Okay, and these four butterfly like structures written over here like in blue ink is considered as subsidiary or accessory cells, which is present or outside the guard cell. This is the structure of the stomata. Overall, I will attach a picture of stomata here. In case of monopod plants, the stomata is kidney shaped and it may be dumbbell shaped or bean shaped as well. Okay, in case of cypress plant, both kidney shaped and both dumbbell shaped stomata we will notice. Okay, so these four subsidiary cells are accessory cells mainly. It helps the guard cells to function. Okay, so let's begin with the type of subsidiary cell. Depending upon the type or the amount of subsidiary cell present in the stomata, we can categorize stomata into major 5 categories. What are the major 5 categories? Let's concentrate over here. The first one is anomocytic. Sorry, let's continue with another thing. In case of 5 major categories over there, the anomocytic type when limited amount of subsidiary cell is present in the stomata. Limited type of. Next is diacytic. Diacytic means when only 2 number of subsidiary cells are present covering the guard cells in stomata. Okay. Next is anisocytic. In case of anisocytic, 2 or 3 cells may be there. In case of parasitic, 3 or 4 or more than cells must be there. And the 5 and the last is actinocytic. In case of actinocytic, the guard cells are surrounded by 4 or more cells of subsidiary cells. Okay, so this is the type of stomata depending upon the subsidiary cells present over there. The first one is anomocytic, when there is limited amount of subsidiary cell covering the or surrounding the guard cells are there. Diacytic, 2, dia means 2. Anisocytic, 3. Parasitic, 3 or more. And actinocytic is 4 or more subsidiary cells are present over here, there, covering or surrounding the guard cells. Okay, let's begin with the next classification of stomata depending upon its distribution and opening platform. Okay, so let's continue with the next portion. These are the two categories of stomata depending upon various phenomena. Okay, the first one is distribution of stomata on leaves. We can categorize stomata upon this category. Distribution, how stomata is distributed over the surface of the leaf. The first one is apple or mulberry type. In this particular type, mainly stomata is present only in the lower surface of the leaf. Which one? Apple or mulberry type. In case of the second one, potato type, the stomata is present in the upper and lower surface both, but in the lower surface the number is much more than the upper surface in case of potato type. In case of water lily type, only stomata is present on the upper surface. Okay. In case of oat type, both upper and lower surface have equal number of stomata present over there. And in case of the fifth one and the last type, Potamogeton type, in that case, mainly the stomata is absent, or even if it is present over there, it is functionless. So these are the 5 types of stomata. What is the category? It is the distribution of stomata over the leaf. The first one is apple or mulberry type. In that particular case, it is present only in the lower surface. In case of oat type, it is present in the both lower and upper surface. In case of potato type, both surfaces contain stomata, but the number of stomata in the lower surface is much more than the upper surface. In case of water lily, only upper surface of the leaf possesses stomata, and in case of Potamogeton type, stomata is mainly absent over there, or even if it is present, it is functionless. Okay. Next category is the movement of stomata. How the stomata will open, whether it is open in the daytime or night time, depending upon that particular category, we can categorize stomata into 4 different types. The first one is alfalfa type. Example, maybe pea, radish, apple. In that particular first category, stomata is present and it is mainly open throughout the day and it is mainly closed throughout the night. Mainly we all know that stomata in case of in night or in dark, stomatal transpiration is mainly not happening. So in that particular first type, alfalfa type, which is the example in case of radish, pea, apple, stomata is open throughout the daytime and closed throughout the night time. In case of the next portion, which is potato type, stomata is present and it is open throughout the daytime and it is open also throughout the night time, but it is closed in a few hours before sunlight. Just before sunlight, few hours, the stomata will close. Except of this, throughout the day and throughout the night, the stomata will open in case of the second one, potato type. The example is cabbage, onion, etc. The third one is barley type. Mainly stomata is present in that particular type also, and stomata remain closed throughout the night and open few hours during the day. In case of barley type, the example is barley, maize, etc. In case of the barley type, the stomata is present and closed throughout the night, and in day also it is not open throughout. Only for few hours it is open in the day. And the last one is equisetum. In case of equisetum, we can find this kind of stomata. It will never close. Whether it is daytime or whether it is night time, it will remain open always. Okay. So these are various categories of stomata depending upon these two processes. Let's continue with the next portion, which is the stomatal index and stomatal frequency. Let's begin with the next portion, which is stomatal index and stomatal frequency. frequency. Stomatal frequency is defined as the number of stomata present per unit area of the leaf. Number of stomata present per unit area of leaf is stomatal frequency. Number of stomata, number of stomata per unit area of leaf. Okay, and stomatal index is the ratio between the number of stomata present per unit area of leaf compared with the number of epidermal cells present per unit area of leaf. Stomatal index is defined or mentioned as I. I means I for stomatal index, and S for number of stomata present per unit area of leaf, which is divided by E, number of epidermal cells per unit area of leaf, plus number of stomata present per unit area of leaf into 100. That means mainly the stomatal index is mentioned as the number of stomata present per unit area of leaf compared with the number of epidermal cells present per unit area of leaf. Okay, stomatal index or stomatal percentage, we can say it. Okay, let's come to the stomatal function. How does the stomata will function? Whenever there is heavy amount of turgor pressure, whenever there is heavy amount of turgor pressure present within the cell, the guard cells will make a crescent shaped structure. This is termed as crescent shaped structure, and eventually the pore between the guard cells will increase and ample amount of water in the form of water vapor will eventually get transpired through the pore. Okay, in the normal state it remains like this. The pore is closed, but whenever there is heavy amount of turgor pressure inside the cell, the guard cells will bulge out. The outer portion of the, actually I just want to mention here that the inner portion of the guard cell is thick and the outer portion, outer membrane is thin enough, and due to the heavy thin in nature, the outer membrane is eventually very easy to bulge out, and that is why it will form a crescent shaped structure upon receiving heavy amount of turgor pressure, and the heavy amount of turgor pressure mainly happen due to the endoosmosis. Endoosmosis. Whenever there is heavy amount of osmotic content inside the stomatal cells, the turgor pressure will eventually increase due to the process of endoosmosis, and that is why the guard cells will form a crescent shaped structure and the pore will open as the cells bulge out. Okay, and that is how the transpiration mainly function through the stomata. And whenever exoosmosis happening, like when the osmotic content is lower and the turgor pressure will also decrease, the cell become flaccid and saggy, and the pore will close and the stomata will close, and no transpiration will eventually happen at that particular point of time. So this is the mainly function of the stomata. I am repeating once again. When there is heavy amount of osmotic content in the environment, the turgor pressure within the guard cells will increase eventually, and due to the process of endoosmosis over there, the turgor pressure will increase and the guard cells outer membrane will stretch or bulge out, and the guard cells will form a crescent shaped state. That is when the internal stomatal pore will open and water vapor will easily make its way outside the environment as a part of transpiration. Okay, just the opposite scenario happening, osmotic content will decrease, turgor pressure will decrease eventually, and the cells become saggy or flaccid. That is when the pore will close and stomatal opening will close. No transpiration will happen over there. Okay, this is the process of stomatal function. Various theories related to that. One I would like to mention, many very important is that potassium malate theory. Potassium malate theory. Okay, potassium malate theory is very important, and many questions regarding that particular topic. Which theory actually helps the transpiration procedure to happen properly is the potassium malate theory, and every year you can expect 1 or 2 questions in NEET and your board examinations from that particular topic only. So read it thoroughly. Okay. Apart from this, another theory I would like to mention here is starch-sugar hypothesis by Stewart 1964. What is this? Starch-sugar hypothesis. Starch-sugar hypothesis. During the daytime, the conversion from starch to sugar will lead to increase in osmotic content within the guard cell, which eventually lead to endoosmosis, and the guard cells will bulge out, pore will open, and transpiration will happen in the daytime. Okay, according to Stewart 1964. And in the night time, just the opposite scenario will eventually occur. During the night time, the sugar will convert into starch, the opposite process. In the daytime, starch will convert into sugar, and in the night time, sugar will convert into starch, and that is when the exoosmosis will occur, the cells become flaccid, the guard cells, and that is when the pore will close and no stomatal opening will be there. Okay, in the starch-sugar hypothesis, another related thought I would like to incorporate here that during the night time, when there is excess amount of carbon dioxide, in the night time when there is excess amount of carbon dioxide present within the leaf, it will help the process of conversion from sugar to starch, and which lead to exoosmosis and the rest of the procedure, closing of stomata during the night time. But in daytime, what happened? But in daytime, carbon dioxide is getting utilized by the plant by the process of photosynthesis, and so there is less amount of carbon dioxide will be there. pH will be more basic, because we all know that carbon dioxide is acidic in nature, and that is why during the night time, the environment of the plant, when there is more carbon dioxide in the system, will become acidic, and this acidic nature will help the conversion of sugar to starch. And during the daytime, when there is less amount of carbon dioxide in the system, the pH will eventually increase, the osmotic content will eventually increase, and this will lead to endoosmosis and opening of stomatal pore, and helps in transpiration or begin the process of transpiration. So this is the theory of Stewart 1964, which is the starch-sugar conversion hypothesis. Okay, I think up to this I am clear enough to you students. If there is any question, let me know in the comments. Okay, let's begin with the last portion of today's class. So let's begin with the next portion, factors affecting transpiration. There are various procedures or various internal and external factors are present over there which affect the process of transpiration either positively or negatively. Okay, in case of internal factors, leaf surface area, leaf orientation and number of stomata are 3 major factors which affect the process of transpiration. Bigger the leaf, broader the surface area, it will eventually increase the number of the process of transpiration in case of plants. Likewise, where the top leaf present in a plant is facing towards the sun and like this, like that particular, if this is the stem If this is the stem, the leaf will placed in a particular manner like this. But the leaves in the shady area are somehow like this or like this. So the orientation of leaf is the major factor, and as well as the number of stomata. How the greater number of stomata present over there, the rate of transpiration will also increase eventually. And the external factors are temperature, light, wind speed and humidity. Increasing temperature will increase the process of transpiration. Humidity, if there is too much humid environment over there, the rate of transpiration will decrease, because already there is heavy amount of water vapor present in the environment. No need to catch the water vapor from the leaf. That is why greater humid places, the rate of transpiration is very much low. Wind speed. The greater the wind speed, the greater the transpiration process will happen. And as well as light also, we can say these are the major 4 external factors which affect the process of transpiration huge manner. Okay, let's proceed with the last section of today's class. So, hormone can be various important factors for stomatal closing and opening. For example, we can say hormone like abscisic acid responsible for stomatal closure. And hormones like cytokinin responsible for stomatal opening. Detailed studies of each and every important hormones are there in this channel. You can follow previous videos for that. Okay. So, hormones like abscisic acid responsible for stomatal closure and hormone like cytokinin responsible for stomatal opening. Like this, light. Here 2 terms are very important. Photoactive and scotoactive. Photoactive and scotoactive. Photoactive, we can say those plants whose stomata open during the daytime. Those plants are considered as photoactive plants. And those plants in which stomata will open throughout the night, we can consider as scotoactive plants. Very important 2 terminologies for your examination. Okay. Next is temperature. Very important point. Less than 10 degrees Celsius temperature will not induce the stomata to open. The temperature below 10 degree or 10 degree, less than 10 degree or 10 degree temperature, at that particular temperature stomata will naturally remain closed. More temperature, higher temperature will be needed for stomatal opening. Okay. Next very important point is carbon dioxide concentration. Very important. Very important for your NEET examinations. Okay, students. Just I have mentioned during the process of sugar starch hypothesis by Stewart 1964. If you can recall, you can think about that. In that particular theory, what I have just mentioned earlier, that whenever there is carbon dioxide concentration during the night time is high in leaf, due to the acidic nature of carbon dioxide, the pH of that particular system will also become acidic, and it will lead to exoosmosis, and it will help the process of conversion between sugar to starch. And the process of exoosmosis initiated by the high concentration of carbon dioxide will eventually close the stomata. Okay, during the night time. And during the daytime, whenever there is less amount of carbon dioxide present due to the usage of carbon dioxide by the process of photosynthesis by the plants, the acidic nature will reduce, the pH will increase and up to the basic point, and that is when endoosmosis will eventually occur, starch to sugar conversion initiated, and stomata will eventually open during the daytime. So carbon dioxide concentration is a very important indicator, you can say, for the stomata to close or open. Okay, and various antitranspirants like phenyl mercuric acid will close stomata. Phenyl mercuric acid, antitranspirant, we can say, will close the stomata. Antitranspirant. Another process of blocking the transpiration by applying thick layer of wax or in the form of Vaseline or in any kind of filming over the leaf area, so that the stomata will eventually close and the process of transpiration will eventually stop. Okay. Very important note I would like to give you students over here is, you must note it down in your copy. Is any cell functioning properly the process of transpiration or not? We can detect it by cobalt chloride test. Cobalt chloride test, if there is any question, which test we can perform to find whether the transpiration is going or not. The test name is cobalt chloride test. Okay. So let's come to the last question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of the process of transpiration? In case of advantages, we can say the transpiration process will generate a transpiration pool which eventually helps in transport of plant minerals and water from the root to the shoot against gravity. Okay. The process of transpiration will eventually give a cooling effect, lower the temperature of that particular plant body, as well as it maintain the turgidity inside the cell. Don't make the cells too much saggy or flaccid. Okay. And the most important disadvantage is wilting. Excessive amount of transpiration process eventually make the plant diseased. It may also die, and it will lead to the process of wilting. Okay. So what is the significance? What is the significance of transpiration? We already know that photosynthesis and respiration are two major metabolic and physiological activities in the plant which is necessary for its sustainability and survival. Likewise, transpiration is also very important. That is why scientists quote it as necessary evil process. It is necessary, but also if it is happening in too much amount, it will make evil in a particular sense that it lead to wilting and die. It can permanently damage the plant body. Okay. So transpiration we can say as a necessary evil process. Okay. So I am wrapping up today's class with this. I have tried my best to conclude or make you understand about the transpiration process as easy as possible. If there is any portion left from your side to understand, or if there is any question from your side, you can always comment down below or mail me in my email ID. My email ID is right now popping in the screen. You can note it down and mail me. I am trying my best, or I will try my best to address as much questions possible from your side. If you like the video and if you enjoy the learning process with me, don't forget to share the video as much as possible and subscribe to my channel.